last episode of What Games Teach Us, I talked about adaptation, and I discussed how video games, being an interactive medium, don't work the same as movies or books regarding the audience's involvement. Indeed, in a video game, you're an active consumer, and you engage with the content in the hope of impacting how the story or the world evolve. On the other hand, something that, to me, is common to all art forms, is that an artwork should tell a story. I believe that painters, sculptors, musicians, dancers, directors, or game developers all share this idea of conveying something to the audience and giving them a glimpse of their own world. That's why narration and atmosphere are key in any movie, book, or, of course, video game. And although they may not be crafted the same for all these mediums, we now have numerous examples of games that have incredibly poignant stories or deeply immersive universes. And I think that in the world of video games, one of the best examples of narration through the atmosphere is Don't Starve. Don't Starve is an indie survival game that was published in 2013 and has been praised by many for its amazing art style à la Tim Burton, its ear-warming soundtrack, its very original sound design, its quirky character design, and much more. Despite being pretty hard and quite punishing for the players, the game is nonetheless fascinating and pretty addictive. When you play Don't Starve, you're directly plunged into a dark and dreary parallel world called The Constant. If you explore the main storyline, you'll follow the adventures of the scientist Wilson and help him survive as long as possible while fighting his enemy Maxwell. But even if you don't actually take an interest for the story and go for the adventure mode, you'll still feel like everything in this world is speaking of strangeness, fear, and hopelessness. Most of this untold narration comes from world building. Throughout your play sessions, you'll keep on discovering various plants and trees, more or less friendly bizarre creatures that make creepy sounds, and scary monsters that jump at you in the darkness. All of these have incredible character designs that are both instantly recognizable, which is essential for a video game, since the players need to know what they're facing instantly, and also very rich in storytelling. The paper cutout graphical style gives the game a unique touch, and it also allows the developers to show the players more terrifying stuff, cause just think of the spiders that you encounter quite soon in your journey and try to imagine what they would look like in a more realistic style. That would probably have put a lot of people off, whereas Don't Starve graphical approach makes it bearable. It's a nice way of softening the initial dive into this world, while still keeping all of its frightening ideas and situations. In that sense, we could find some similarities between Don't Starve and another famous roguelike indie game, The Binding of Isaac, where the childlike drawing style is at the service of a harsh and sometimes a bit dirty portraying of a kid's fears. The carnival-like repetitive music is also astonishing in how quickly it traps you in this dark world. Just like the ambient or contextual sounds, the game's soundtrack is here to gradually focus your attention on the constant and immerse you in this parallel universe. The designers cleverly decided that characters wouldn't speak, so everyone in Don't Starve, animals, monsters, and humans alike, interacts with sounds. Sure, this technique makes internationalization easier, but it's very interesting in terms of memorization too. After playing the game for a few hours, you'll most likely have internalized plenty of sounds, and you'll react to the audio just as much as you do to the visuals. So all of these subtle clues, both in terms of graphics and sounds, come together to make a coherent and captivating environment. The second important component of this overall stressy atmosphere is the gameplay itself, of course. In Don't Starve, the game mechanics are heavily focused on increasing the sensation of fear and keeping the players on their toes at all time. For example, the high level of complexity and the permanent death obviously contribute a lot to this feeling of tension. Similarly, the gauge of sanity that increases when doing enriching activities and decreases when you fight monsters or you spend a hard night is a core feature of the game, and it forces you to constantly check whether you should really venture in this weird forest or if you run the risk of getting mad and seeing your nightmares come to life. This means that every action you take as a player is wrapped in these dilemmas, and even the user interface reminds you of the dangers of this world. The somewhat slow progression and lengthy evolution of your character's skills and equipment is yet another example of the fact that the constant is a merciless land that will require you to adapt and learn if you wish to survive. So far from decoupling the player from the character and presenting you with a 2D gothic wallpaper, the game continuously pulls you in as part of this cruel world, and it takes advantage of the usual features of roguelike and survival games to have you, the player, be immersed in and scared of the constant almost as much as Wilson is. And it doesn't even need to bore you with long text and endless slow snippets to bring about this feeling. Rather, it benefits from a subtle mixture of contrasts and synergies to give more weight to every action and inscribe it in the grand narrative of this grim and strange world. So what if Don't Starve, in all its delectable darkness, was actually a great example of atmosphere and narration? And please tell me in the comments, am I the only one that hopes for way too many rabbits for my next dinner? In the meantime, if you have other ideas of games that tell us something without us noticing, please go ahead and share it in the comments. As always, thanks a lot for watching, and take care.